Hi y'all, my name's Tom, and this video is the second in the series, and it's going to give you a selection of HF radios that cost between $1,000 and $2,000. The previous one in this series was radios under $1,000, and the next one in this series will be radios between $2,000 and $4,000. The final video in this series will have radios over $4,000. Between you and me, I think radios between $1,000 and $2,000 really hit the sweet spot. Now I'm going to show you 6 radios, and I think you'll find that for the features they have and at the price point they're at, most of these radios would serve very well in either a new ham shack or in the shack of a more experienced amateur operator. Now, I'm using the same ground rules that I set for myself and described in the previous video, right up there, and that was HF radios under $1,000. The link to the video is in the video description below. As I release the others in the series, I will add to the video descriptions for all of them, so that once you're there, just scroll down to the video description and you can just click on the link so you have fast access to all of them. As a quick summary, here are the rules. I didn't consider any current discounts, rebates, or sales prices. Rather, I only used the manufacturer's suggested retail price, or MSRP. Next, the manufacturer had to have a good history in producing amateur HF radios. Finally, I didn't include any accessories for these radios, although I do mention if such accessories are needed for specific needs. For example, if it doesn't have an internal antenna tuner, I point that out and then point you to where you can maybe consider purchasing one. This is because you're going to want an internal antenna tuner, and not having one kind of limits you. So you'd want to add that to your price, your total price. Maybe it might bring that number 2 radio below the price of the number 3 radio, which has the antenna tuner built in. But hopefully you followed my logic. I made that up as I went along. I also provide the maximum current draw so that you can plan on the type and capacity of the power supply that you're going to need. As always, please feel free to add your comments to the video description below, and let me know if you have a rig that didn't make my list and what you think of it. And because it's down there in public, everybody can see it and consider your choice as well. Before we move on to the radios, I'll let you know that I'm not endorsing any of these rigs. They will all get you on the air, and like I said before, to be fair, the person on the other end won't be able to tell if you're using a radio that costs thousands or hundreds. I am going to give you the information and the resources to make your own comparisons and decisions. I've sorted these with the lowest MSRP and then moving up. So, without further ado, let's get started on the list. The first rig is an ICOM IC7100, and the MSRP for this one is $1,029.95. By the way, with rebates and coupons and stuff like that, it does come in under $1,000. However, since I'm keeping with the MSRP, that's why it's on this list instead of the previous one. The max current draw is 22 amps, so a power supply rated at around 30 amps minimum is recommended. It transmits from 160 to 10 meters, HF, plus 6 meters, 2 meters, and the 70 centimeter bands. Its modes are SSB, CW, RIDI, FM, AM, and D-Star. Power out and HF and 6 meters. On HF and 6 meters is an adjustable 2 to 200 watts. On 2 meters, it's 2 to 50 watts, and on the 70 centimeter band, it's 1 to 35 watts. On HF and 6 meters AM, The power is 1 to 40 watts. It does have an internal CW keyer, so you can plug a straight key or a paddle directly in if you want to play with CW. It does not have an internal sound card, and in these instances I recommend the SignalLink USB by Tigertronics. It also does not have an internal antenna tuner, so I would recommend an LDG tuner. Links for both the SignalLink and LDG are in the video description. This radio has been on the market for some time, and it's starting to show its age. When it was first released, it had a tremendous following, especially for those who were looking for a low-cost HF radio with VHF and UHF capabilities plus D-Star. At the time, D-Star was just about the only game in town as far as digital voice went, and everybody wanted to hop on that bandwagon. The next rig on the list is the Yaesu FT-911A, which is a hybrid software-defined radio, or SDR, with an MSRP of $1,229.95. The max current draw is 23 amps, so power supply rated at 30 amps minimum is recommended. Full disclosure, I own this radio and I've really been enjoying it. I recently used it for the North American QSO Party RIDI contest. Because my primary radio, my Kenwood TS-890, is currently in the shop getting fixed, this radio is my primary radio right now. And I've been using it on all different modes and bands and just having a ball with it. Now it does cover all HF bands from 160 to 10 meters, plus 6 meters, 2 meters, and 70 centimeters. Output power on HF and 6 meters is 5 to 100 watts on all modes except AM, where the power out is between 2 and 25 watts. On 2 meter and 70 centimeter bands, the output power is 5 to 50 watts. Modes are CW, AM, FM, and digital modes, including C4FM, which is also known as the Yaesu System Fusion. It has an internal antenna tuner, sound card, CW keyer, and cat control. I just put out a review video on this radio, and it's strictly my likes and dislikes based on my opinion and my experience with the radio. The next rig is the ICOM IC7300, which has an MSRP of $1,299.95. It is also a hybrid SDR. It has a max current of 21 amps, which could probably be run on a power supply rated at 25 amps, but I would still recommend a 30 amp power supply just to be safe. Power supplies are interesting things. I did put out a video, and you don't want to cheap out on the power supply. I say 30 amps. I use 50 amps on all my HF rigs. The power out on HF and 6 meters is 100 watts on CW, FM, SSB, and RIDI. The power out on the AM mode is 25 watts. It also has an internal keyer, internal sound card, and internal antenna tuner. It is also fully cat capable. Now we take a little jump in price for another hybrid SDR rig, up about $400. The Yaesu FTDX-10, which has an MSRP of $1,699.95. The FTDX-10 has a max current of 23 amps, so a power supply at 30 amps minimum is recommended. It transmits on all HF bands from 160 to 10 meters, plus the 6 meter band. Output power is 100 watts on CW, SSB, FM, RIDI, and Packet. I don't know if there's anybody still out there on Packet, but it does it. The output power on the AM mode is 25 watts. It is fully cat capable. It has an internal sound card, internal keyer, and internal antenna tuner. Now for another rig that's been on the market for a few years with a couple of upgrades along the way. The Kenwood TS-590SG has an MSRP of $1,700 and $1,719.95. The max current draw is 20.5 amps, so a power supply rated at 25 amps probably would suffice, but again, just to be safe, consider a 30 amp or more power supply. Again, full disclosure, I have owned a predecessor to this radio. In fact, the 590S was my primary radio for over 10 years. It's an HF plus 6-meter rig with 100 watts out on CW, SSB, FM, and RIDI. It has 25 watts out on the AM mode. Like the previous rigs, it's fully CAT capable, has an internal keyer, sound card, and antenna tuner. Finally, we have the FlexRadio Flex 6400, which comes in at just under $2,000 just to make this list. At $1,999 for the base model, there are a lot of options you can add, but unless they're under $1, we're talking about the very basic model. Unlike the others we've looked at, this rig is a full SDR. And I'll leave it to you to go do some research on what an SDR really is. Now, unfortunately, I could not find a current draw, a max current draw on this one, but I expect it to be probably between 21 and 23 amps. As long as it doesn't exceed 25 amps, a power supply rated at 30 amps should be sufficient. This is an HF plus 6-meter rig with 100 watts out on SSB, CW, FM, RIDI, and digital modes. On the AM mode, the output power is 25 watts. Now this does have an internal sound card and an internal keyer. An internal antenna tuner is optional, but of course will have an additional cost. Now that's the list of HF radios from established companies available to you that have MSRPs between 1 and 2,000 buckaroos. I've included a lot of notes and links in the video description so you can go out and do your own research and compare and contrast between these radios to find the best one for you. Please subscribe to my channel and ring the notification bell so you'll be one of the first to see when these videos are published and be able to see all of my videos in one convenient spot. Don't forget, likes are free and it only takes a moment of your time to click on the thumbs up icon. Please share this content with others who may be looking for new rigs in this price range without having to go on the aftermarket. Once you purchase a radio, whether it's on this list or not, please leave a comment below and share with what you got with everyone. So that way you can put your information out there as well. As always, at your service. I'm Tom, ND3N, and thanks for dropping by my little shack in the corner for a ham shack chat. 7-3 for now. I'm out.